Welcome to Conversations with Laurel, everyone. I am your host, Laurel McHargue, and I have an old friend, but no, she's not old. She's young. She's young and beautiful and powerful. We're going to talk about power today with my guest, Marta Spirk, and we are going to talk about her book, The Empowered Woman. Marta, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much.
I met you, a couple of years ago at the Georgetown Christmas Market, I believe.
Yes, it's
In
nice to
George,
connect with authors.
Yep, in Georgetown, Colorado. Our friend Jerry Fabianic puts that on every year. Marta, introduce yourself as only you can best introduce yourself to our audience. I hate it when like people like me go on a list of things about my guests. What would you like our audience to know about you?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. So I'm Marta Spirk. I'm originally from Brazil, born and raised. Had a passion for the English language, and yep, right there. And I actually earned 2 degrees in English. I built a career of almost 20 years as a teacher, interpreter, translator, and then plot twist in 2016, I had triplets. And that prompted me to go on this journey of empowerment that has led me to building a business in coaching, focusing on women, on empowering women. And right now, my focus has been a lot on helping women with visibility, women entrepreneurs, especially from stage. So I'm a speaking strategist for women wanting to showcase more of their business and offers.
I had triplets, so I had to start a business.
Right. They don't necessarily go together, but that's what happened.
Holy mackerel. So I was going to ask you why you wrote this book. So obviously, you are a strong woman. What was it? Because there are self-help books out there, right? About,
Yeah.
being the best. And your subtitle is The Ultimate Roadmap to Business Success. And what I love about this is it's very succinct, it's very easily consumable. Why did you feel like you had to write this book?
Yeah, I wanted to write it because the path to building a business seemed a lot more treacherous than I had anticipated. And I think it went hand in hand with raising triplets, coincidentally enough. I mean, I had gone through challenges in life, and one of the biggest ones before that was moving to America from Brazil. Even though I was, accustomed to the culture, there is a culture shock, leaving your family and your parents behind and your home country behind, to move in with somebody, from a different country. That was challenging. But then when you talk about starting a business from scratch in a industry seemingly different from what I had before, there was a lot of internal conflict, and I at times feel like there's a lot of focus on the external, the marketing, the tactics, which that is very important. We need both. But a lot of what I experienced that I believe was keeping me from the growth I so desperately wanted to see was my own self. So that's what I talk about in the book. It's the importance of that mindset and the personal growth, because your business growth goes hand in hand with that. You can't escape it. I like to say that marriage, motherhood, and entrepreneurship are fantastic ways of holding up a good old mirror in front of you and showing you who you are, showing you what you're made of. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's going to show you.
Yeah.
And that's what the book is about. It was about this journey and wanting to empower other women that are on this entrepreneurial journey, kind of like as a pick me up, and also an opportunity for me to share my story and my background.
Yeah, yeah. So in it, your different chapters, you talk about noticing, um, forgiving, listening, empowering, transforming. How did the order of these whole things? How did these come to you?
Yeah. So as I started coaching clients, I understood that in order to coach anyone, you need to become aware of where they are. They need to become aware of where they are, and you have to have a clearer picture of what they're currently experiencing and where they want to go. It's the infamous point A to point B, right?
Yeah.
What's going on? What's the challenge? And what do you want to see change and transformed? So initially those were, the steps that I worked with clients was become aware, come up with a plan, execute the plan. But then in my own personal journey, I started noticing that there were more steps, there was more to that. yes, you start with noticing, but once you notice, there is a huge tendency of wanting to guilt trip yourself. Once
Oh,
you
talk
notice
about
where you
that.
are, yeah. So that's why my second step is actually forgive. Because once you realize, oh, that's why things aren't going the way I want to, because I need to make a change. I can't just point fingers to the people around me, right? To the economy, to clients, to your family, which it's natural for us to do, you know? It's kind of hard to point at yourself. And some people, it comes more naturally to judge themselves, but then the step of forgiveness is what's missing. It's
Ah.
important to see where you're at fault, recognize it, but then you need to move on. And you can't just, ignore it. You got to deal with it. So I think that was one of the steps that I was very proud of doing because that was a big one for me. I needed to see, look at myself and see I am a mom of triplets. There are so many other things going on in my life. It's time for me to cut myself some slack. And I think we can never, the type A high achievers, out there, they need to hear this more often. So that's when I started adding kind of in between steps. And the other piece too is that empowerment is not the final step. That's something else that I put on there is that transformation is because you, honestly, you never reach the epitome of empowerment because if you do, then you died probably, right?
Yeah. What's
As
the,
long
yeah.
as we're alive, there's something else for us to be working towards. I always like to say there's a different level of discomfort waiting for you. Are you going to take it? Because it's out
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
another way of challenging yourself. So then the last step is transform, and usually into a stronger version of yourself, into a prouder version of yourself where you can actually look back and be like, I've accomplished some awesome things and I get to sit here and enjoy this before moving on to my next one.
So look back, but don't stay back there. Don't live in
Mhm.
your past.
Yeah,
Yeah, move forward. And I personally have always lived by, the idea of, picking challenges. If you've got nothing challenging you,
yeah,
you just kind of are, right? I
yeah.
mean,
You're not growing.
you're
Mhm.
not growing. So I love the idea of putting yourself in difficult situations and
Yes,
seeing who you become, seeing what you're
absolutely.
capable of. Because how do you know what you're capable of if you don't push yourself, if you don't try hard
Absolutely.
things?
That's the
Yeah.
only.
So on your notice chapter, you use something I wasn't familiar with, the Enneagram personality type.
Yeah, so that
So
is,
yeah, talk about that because we're talking nine different strengths and nine different things. Yeah,
yes, yes.
talk about that.
So in my own journey, I'm a super geek for personality assessments, like understanding yourself. Why am I the way that I am? Where did this come from? Nature, nurture, whatever. And one of the things that I came across was the Enneagram, and I deeply resonated with it, I think more than any other assessment, because it showed me a path for growth. And it also showed me a path for not being integrated and being less of myself, and in that, it showed me the connection between types, among the other types. So it's not just, oh, I understand this type and this is who I am. It's in order to really understand this one, I need to see the contrast with the other ones and how they differ. So obviously, it's a lot more than just learning one, but that's where my philosophical brain just geeks out on this stuff is that we all have similarities and you can group the nine types in different categories, but in general terms all of them have some type of childhood wound or something that prompted them being the way that they are, which you could say a protection mechanism, right? All of us have developed protection mechanisms as a child, and then once we grow it doesn't really serve us anymore, but that's what we've trained ourselves to react to do and to react to
Ah,
challenging
ah,
situations. And so
okay.
all of this came about because I was actually questioning myself wanting to start a business while having triplets.
Hmm.
Because there was a lot of pushback from my family, actually. Like, what are you doing? This is, you got other things to tend to. And I was like, I don't know why, but I feel this pull. And come to find out, it's a lot to do with my personality of being an overachiever, of being an achiever. So that's my type, which is type 3. and I describe this in the book, is the achiever. But then there are other people that, depending on what happened in their lives, they revert to other things, which is maybe being more in the background, silencing themselves, not showcasing their opinions, or being overly perfectionists, right? We tend to forget, but perfectionists, they judge themselves a lot more than they judge people outside. And when people perceive them and they're like, you're so judgmental, can you imagine what living in that person's brain is like?
Mm.
So there's a lot of that. I mean, it's so rich. The Enneagram is so rich. And this is what I invite people to use in the first chapter to get to the point of awareness. Notice yourself. What do you default to when you feel triggered or antagonized? Because we all kind of default to something, and it's different for everyone.
Yeah, and I think everyone is familiar with the Myers-Briggs assessment. The Enneagram seems so much, I think you used the term richer,
Yeah.
deeper.
Yes.
And there are certainly overlaps
Oh, yeah.
in some of the types.
Yes. Yeah. They
Um,
all complement each other, I think. That's why it's fun to get to know the other, ways that people developed an analysis of the human psyche and behavior, because you learn a little bit different. And I think different seasons of life, you may resonate with certain things more than others.
right, and there are techniques for
Hmm.
handling each one, which I
Yes.
think is absolutely great.
Hmm.
In your chapter on empowering, one thing that stood out to me was the idea of the victim mindset.
Hmm.
First of all, I'll talk a little bit about that, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of it has to do with when you start noticing certain patterns, which is what I invite you to do to begin with. That is that there is that temptation to then judge yourself, and then step into that place of woe is me, right? Um, I guess I can't move past this. It's just too hard for me. Or, I'll just speak for myself. I'm constantly achieving. And I could just get into a pattern of, well, then I guess the alternative is I will do nothing. I will just sit here and do nothing, which is very, very impossible. But you know what I'm saying? Like extremes. That's really what the victim mindset is. No, that's not what we mean. We mean there has to be balance. You need to be more intentional. And when somebody calls you out, that's not what you hear. You hear, then there's nothing good about me. That's not what we mean. We mean every strength can also be a weakness when used incorrectly, or when not leveraged to the best way possible. And that's what I learned, really, is that my weakness really is my strength if I know that it is. You know what I'm saying? It starts
Yeah.
with that. It's very trippy.
Yeah, no, it is. So, I've come across people who I can label as having a victim mindset, and I know we don't
Uh-huh.
want to use the term label, but
Yeah.
it seems to me that some people are comfortable in
Yes.
that role.
Hmm.
Have you come across anyone like that? Well, I wonder if people like that would even want to empower themselves. You know what I mean?
Right. It's interesting because I have met people on the other side of the spectrum where they feel like they are already very empowered. Oh, I'm already confident. I'm already really empowered. I don't really need any more empowering. And that's when I know that they are in denial on the other side of the victim mindset, because I think that's really what it is. It's being in denial and feeling powerless almost, or feeling too powerful. Like I'm already empowered. Well, so does that mean there is no next level? There is absolutely nothing in this world that bothers you that you could potentially work on? I
Yeah.
find that really hard to believe, So, but back to your question, for people that are thinking, there is no motivation for me to be empowered. I always like to encourage, because those are certain types of the Enneagram, so their motivation is different than people like me. Their motivation is, what does that do to the people around you? Do you think that that's encouraging for your children to see somebody that is complacent? What kind of role model are you being to somebody else if you have no aspirations?
Mhm.
So that's a different kind of call to action versus for me, I'm aspiring, that's all I do. So my call to action is, what is that doing to your kids as well? But how can you be more present? How can you, be satisfied with what you have, but not complacent?
Okay, talk about the imposter syndrome because I know a lot of authors have it.
Yeah.
And did you have to get over it?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
did you just,
Well, and I want to say it's that next level of discomfort. I think it never really goes away because every time you're trying something new and challenging yourself, you're going to feel like a beginner. that's the point. But I think it's overcoming quote unquote imposter syndrome is actually understanding that it won't go away. And it's learning to embrace it and to actually be excited, right? Be curious. Why am I feeling disqualified all of a sudden? Oh, because that person said this, or because that person seems overly qualified. So if I talk to them and I come across as, unknowledgeable, what will they think, right? It usually revolves around what people's perceptions of you, but then when you remind yourself you cannot control anybody's perception of yourself except for yours,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So I think, um, and going back to service really is um, a huge help because even if you don't feel qualified, because there are a million other people in the world doing something very similar to you, well, are all of those other people reaching the same network as you could? Probably not, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there is a role, and I always like to use, a scripture analogy of us being parts of a body. You can't tell me that the right eye is more important than the left eye or the mouth or the nose. They all have a purpose. And for them to be like, you know what, I'm worthless, just cut me off, that's ludicrous, right? So it's the
Right.
same thing with all of us, and especially with authors, because I mean, you can walk into a bookstore if anyone does that anymore these days, or a library and be like, what's the point? No one will ever
Yes.
read my book. Um, but books are still being written. So what does that say? Those people
Yeah.
believed that they had something important to say and that they could reach people in a different way. So why can't you believe that about yourself?
Yes. Yes. No, I love that. And I have felt that so many times in my
Mm.
writing career, walking into a bookstore or a library and just
Yeah,
being overwhelmed by what's out there.
yeah,
And what does my puny little voice have to add to anything? How can my story that might have sprouted from a dream I had, how could
yeah.
that entertain anyone when there's all this other stuff already out there entertaining?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's that's a hard one to get over. But then, as you mentioned, we're all different. We all
Yes,
have different dreams. We might have similar ideas on some things, but our ability to express them, is always going to be different. And
absolutely.
and the idea of reaching a certain audience, you're so right. I mean, not
Yep.
everyone is going to read all the books, and
Right. They
so
won't.
yeah, right, right.
And
Wow.
even if they do, they may not resonate with it for a variety of reasons that we won't never know, psychologically, emotionally. I mean, we're all proof of this. We may have heard something similar from different people, but that was that one person that really touched you. And it could be because of the season of life, but it could have been because of the vessel as well, you know?
Hmm.
So there's that.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us about the Empowered Woman School, which I guess you're also involved in.
Yes, so that was one of my programs, a membership that I had for the longest time. Right now, my focus has been in a different program called Story to Stage, which is a similar format in terms of it being a community of women, but with the focus on using your story and leveraging your voice to share about your business. So I work with women founders who want to be the face of the brand. They don't want to lead a faceless brand anymore. They want to share why they started to start that business, what was the pivotal moment that really made a difference, and leverage that to connect with their audience and to share about their products and services. So that's what I've been focusing on now.
All right. Wow. Huh. Okay. So you are still the mother of 10-year-old triplets?
Yes, 10 years old now.
What's the most important lesson they have taught you?
Oh gosh, they have taught me so many lessons. I
You don't
and
have
I
to give me one. Give me a few.
Yeah, well, I think the being present one is huge. Um, the other one is they don't really care about my accomplishments. It's interesting. It's interesting how people are like, "Oh my gosh, they must be so amazed when they see you sing, when they see you speak." And to them, it's just me, you know? And
Just mom.
sometimes it's annoying. It's like, "Oh, here she goes again, Now I have to sit here in this meeting because I didn't go somewhere else to get, babysat." They care about me as their mom, you know? And that's such a great reminder in general that people don't connect with you because of your accomplishments. They really connect with you for who you are, and they love you for who you are. The real connections, right? The people that really care about you and they're not trying to leverage you for whatever reason. So I think that has come in so handy for me in my business as I grow, that for a while there, again, because of my personality type, I was focused on the accolades and the titles because, I know that
Ego.
matters to some
Yeah,
extent. Yeah,
we have
um,
ego.
exactly.
Yeah.
But then the more I accomplished, the less I accomplished I actually felt. Oh my gosh, Marta, you're so successful, people would tell me. And I'm like, am I? And then I started noticing that being successful has nothing to do with what's outside of you. You have to recognize that yourself, and nothing can do it but yourself. So I think that's a lot of what my kids teach me, because they're so um, like grounded to the limited knowledge that they have of the world, and of me being their mom. So that has been enlightening. I think the presence, and also, who you are is more important than what you do.
What do they like to do for fun?
Oh gosh, they're very active. They, play sports and do martial arts, and they like being outside. My daughter's a dancer, cheerleader extraordinaire. So um, they're very active kids, and I love that. I love that for them, because I was more on the academic, intellectual side growing up. So I kind of live vicariously through them now.
That's awesome. And you sing. Where do you sing?
Yeah, so I started singing in church. My mom is a pastor, so that's where my singing career began. And then after getting married, I started doing a lot of the national anthem here in America for different sporting events. And
Nice.
I still do that, but that was, a lot. I was doing it like almost every month for a different event, which is a lot of fun. It's also nerve-wracking no matter how many
Mhm,
times you do it,
mhm,
which
mhm.
is why I like it. Because it's a challenge every
Yeah,
time, and
yeah.
it's just the adrenaline is crazy. And then I started pursuing it more. I wrote my own songs. I uh, release them, and I sing, for private events and do sets, covers for fundraisers and different private events, and that has been a lot of fun too.
Okay. What is in the works right now? Are you writing anything else?
I am not. I do know that there is another book brewing. It's not officially, I haven't written anything, but I know that there is another book inside of me, I guess I should say, that is more focused on the visibility, the speaking piece, and actually the message that I just shared a little bit, that, achieving things for clout is great, but there is a deeper meaning there that is actually going to take you farther. So I can't write things without talking about mindset and the deeper stuff. So um, that's definitely probably the route that it's going to reach. But other than that, it's continuing to connect with women founders that want to share their story and that need some help articulating it.
Well, here's one that just came to me. And I guess you haven't written it yet, but if you were to write The Empowered Man,
Mm.
what would be different?
That's a very interesting question, because I've had men read this book and say that they really resonated with it. And
Yeah.
actually, my business coach at the time when I wrote this book was a man, and he was the one that encouraged me to write. And in my book signing, he said this book could have been called The Empowered Human, because it's for anyone, it's not just for women. So I don't know that there would be any specific differences, because the Enneagram type it's not exclusive to women either.
Right.
So there's a lot of, themes that could be the same.
All right. Well, there's another avenue for you.
Yeah.
Let's see. The cover would be, who would you have on the cover? Who
Oh,
would you
that's a
have
good
on the
question.
cover of The Empowered Man?
I don't know. Maybe my husband and my sons.
Oh, that might be fun.
Yeah.
Have they not asked you to do that for them?
No, they have not. They don't, at least for now. Well, my daughter's more on the performance side, but the men in my life are more on the private side. We'll see if anything changes as they grow, but they definitely don't take after me on that department yet.
All right. Well, Marta Spirk, where can people follow you and find you?
Yeah, so I am visible. You can find me pretty much anywhere, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I have my YouTube channel with my songs. Also, you can find me on Spotify and iTunes with my original music. And I have my podcast, The Empowered Woman, my book, and my website, martaspirk.com.
Awesome. I will have links below.
Awesome.
Everybody, check them out. And people out there, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Marta Spirk, thank you so much for your time and your encouragement for us to get out of our past and challenge ourselves to move into a future that will help us grow and learn more about ourselves and I think be more interesting people.
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful rest of your life, and I'm going to follow you.
Okay.
Bye bye.